Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and today we're going to talk about the new adventure book, the Dungeons & Dragons adventure book called Waterdeep Dragon Heist. It's a heist adventure of all things. I thought it was quite peculiar when they put this out, but it actually makes a lot of sense in a city location, hence is probably why they've done that. So we are definitely going to be looking at this book. I have not really had time to actually look at it carefully, so if I seem to lose my train of thought, I do apologise. It actually took me quite a lot to figure out how to set up the camera so that you could actually see it properly, but I did. Ta-da! So hopefully this is going to work out really well for everybody. Okay, so I'm going to just open this up, read through, give you my thoughts and feelings about things, and obviously please chat in the comment, give me your feedback. I will probably go through and read it and respond to people's comments later on rather than during the actual book flip through. So let's have a look. So, Waterdeep Dragon Heist. A splendid treasure trove is yours for the taking in this adventure for the world's greatest roleplay game. It's quite a nice piece of artwork. I saw it on for some time. I thought it was actually pretty nice. Most of the artwork's been spot on anyway. I don't honestly have anything to complain about with regard to their artwork whatsoever. The famed explorer Voluthrump Gerardam needs you to complete a simple quest. It doesn't sound that simple. Thus begins a mad romp through the wards of Waterdeep as you uncover a villainous plot involving some of the city's most influential figures. Now, probably some of the most powerful figures, I suspect, as well. A grand urban caper awaits you. Pitch your skill and bravery bravado against the villains, the likes of which you have never faced before, and let the dragon hunt begin. So obviously there's a dragon treasure trove involved and obviously a dragon involved. I think that makes an awful lot of sense. Okay, it's for levels 1 to 5. It states it right here. This is one of the drawbacks I find with this book. So I'm looking for a book in this that is more of a campaign or a location guide and an adventure at the same time. Otherwise, it doesn't really make an awful lot of sense to me. I think there's going to be a few problems and also a lot of upset people, particularly since you're not getting all of the levels you would expect. Okay, alright, this is the front page. We've got our disclaimer. What does the disclaimer actually say? The Lords of Waterdeep cannot be held responsible for the flogging, banishment, incarceration, or execution of adventurers who violate the code legal, nor are the lords responsible for the actions of beholder crime lords, unscrupulous nobles, drow swashbucklers, evil clones. Okay. Also, don't be alarmed by the colossal statues scattered throughout the city that are quite safe and haven't gone berserk in years. Okay, so in other words, we can expect that to definitely happen. That would be my view of that whole situation. It's definitely going to happen. When they say it's not going to happen, it's going to happen. So our contents page covers what looks like an introduction, Chapter 1, A Friend in Need, Chapter 2, Troll Skull Alley, Chapter 3, Fireball, Chapter 4, Dragon Season. Okay, so they talk about the different seasons there. Apparently there's 4 seasons involved in this whole thing. Spring Madness, Chapter 6, Hell of Summer, 7. Okay, alright, and then they break it down. We've got a magic item, appendices, we've got some monsters at the back, and some handouts. Well, good, cool. Pronunciation guide. Very helpful for somebody like me. I'm probably still going to get the words wrong, but I'm glad. I feel like they might have provided this specifically for me, since I have so much trouble with that sort of thing. Okay, introduction, story overview, the cache of dragons. So in other words, you're chasing down some sort of dragon treasure. Volo's quest, war in the streets. All right. Fireball. I suspect Fireball is when everything starts to happen. I'm told that this adventure is sort of built in such a way that it sort of leads you quietly into the adventure, and then sort of partway through things start to happen. Choosing your villains. Now, I don't know that that necessarily is done by the players. I suspect that the Dungeon Master does that themselves, or uses the seasons to determine which villain you get. So you could have Xanathar, the Victro, and Amelia Casteltier. Okay, Jalaxel, we've heard about him. Manchun's what the clone version of the wizard, right? Season, spring, summer, autumn, winter. Running the adventure, and a quick abbreviation so you can figure that out. Oh, okay, not a bad idea. That's a nice piece of artwork. 2 pages combined in one. Now, if I could only have found this piece of artwork a few months ago when I needed it. Never mind, it's here now. The adventure structure. Now, this is one of the things that always sort of has me concerned about their adventures, is the structure of the adventure and finding a way of moving through it without getting lost. So breaking the law, there's information on that. Life in Waterdeep. This is really good. We've got a flowchart here. So it gives you a chart for the adventure structure, starting with Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, and then it looks to me you either go from Chapter 4 to one of these chapters, which would be Chapter 5, 6, 7, or 8. So it doesn't. So there's pretty much a sequence to things. So I'm getting the feeling that the adventure is more like it's a straight line, but you sort of can move around in each location. We'll see how we go. There's a adventure background flowchart. So I'm not entirely sure how that works, but look, I like the idea of flowcharts. It always makes it a lot easier to figure out what's going on. Character creation, so how to bring the party together, that's always good. Does it give you some, I mean, that's only a little bit of information. Do they give you some sort of adventure hooks or a page on that? I don't see anything. The Guilds of Waterdeep, what do we got here? Dung Sweepers Guild. Really? There's a Dung Sweepers Guild. Of course there is. Guild membership. Alright, so you obviously have an opportunity to join a guild or interact with guilds. Faction membership. Alright, so this is probably how you're drawing or pulling your players in, is by using either a guild or a faction, and it looks like they've got access to quite a few. We've got the Emerald Enclave. We have Force Grey. Oh, really? Okay, the Harpers, Lord's Alliance, nothing new in that. There's a little bit, looks like there's a little bit of information about the type of support you get from each of the factions. So if you're part of the Harpers, there's certain things you can count on from them, which is quite nice. I think that's quite a good idea. Order of the Gauntlet, Xanathar's Guild. All right, and Zentarum. I know a few people who will enjoy that. Now this is a very nice piece of artwork. I've seen this before. I thought it was a really cool idea. And as far as I can tell, I believe that Matthew Mercer is reading a book over here. It looks to me like this is Xanathar in the Yawning Portal. And is that Minx and Boo sitting over there? I think it is. I think they're supposed to be like, it's all numbered so you can actually figure out or find out who each of these characters are, and probably include them in the adventure as well. So that's really quite cool. So here we go. It says, go to page 224 for the answer keys. In other words, you guess what they are, and then you can find the answers. It's like a little bit of homework for you, isn't it? Okay, so now we're up to the Yawning Portal. Familiar faces. Durin, Bonnie. I don't know who Bonnie is. A doppelganger of some kind disguised. Alright, okay, there's definitely spoilers in here. For those of you who haven't figured it out, there are definitely going to be spoilers. Okay, Mantrin, I don't know who that is. 3 strings. I'm not. Silvermane, Maloon, Wood Dragon. Alright, so there's a couple of NPCs that they can interact with in the actual Yawning Portal itself. And then once we get past the introduction, we're into A Friend in Need, Chapter 1. Where to start? Tavern Brawl. So we start off in a tavern with a tavern brawl. well, at least it's not sit around and have a big long chat and try to figure out how to sort of make things happen. So they certainly forced the issue by creating a tavern brawl. And we're going to meet Volo here. So this is your, I guess, your patron who's going to issue the quest, the initial quest or mission, and then it will travel from there. Finding finding Floon. Okay, so there's a small adventure. It looks like it is a little bit rough around the edges in terms of how it's tied together, but I haven't been able to have a look at it. Zentarum hideout, so it looks like you've got to sneak into the Zentarum. Ooh, that's not a good idea. Main room, storage closet. Okay, here's the map. Now this is done by somebody who's actually quite famous, and I know a lot of people have been concerned about the maps and thinking, well, you know, I was expecting for a book like this something that's colour. I can kind of understand that view, but I also think that what Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast and what Chris Perkins and the team are trying to do is pull in more people from the community who have something to offer or give when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons and put their little sort of touch to it. So I don't think the maps are bad. I think actually it would be much easier to draw a map from these maps yourself for the players than to try to copy something that has been done by a professional on a computer. So yeah, still it's not colour, and I do understand some people might be a bit upset by that. The watch arrives. Tracking. Alright, so you've got to track somebody down by the looks. Navigating the sewers. Alright, then we get a sewer section. Xanathar's Guild hideout. So you've got to sneak into Xanathar's Guild as well. Zentarum, Xanathar, and we get a nice map as well. Very well laid out. Look, I think honestly that Wizards of the Coast has done a reasonable job with some of the general layouts. When they have a map and they've got to give you sort of sections on it, they do a great job nowadays of laying it out so it's easy to follow. And that's really good. I mean, this here, Q7, the boss fight, could be quite just a great huge string of paragraphs and look a bit like a wall of text, but they have broken it up into, you know, you read out text, a little bit of information, the highlighted sections as usual for your monsters, how to role play an NPC, and then treasure. So I think that's all good. I think that's going to be relatively easy for even a new dungeon master to run. And then completing Volo's quest, and then level advancement. Well, that's interesting. So there's some guidance around what level if you're using milestones. So if you're using experience points, it might not quite sit in line with what you get from doing the adventure. I'm kind of curious as to whether there was a guide to that in the introduction about how... oh, here we go. Here it is. It's on page 14. I was wondering if there was something in the introduction. So suggested character levels based on the chapter. Right down here. So chapter 1, A Friend in Need, is levels 1 to 2. Troll Skull Alley is level 2. Fireball is level 3. Dragon Season is level 3 to 4. And then whether you're playing out chapter 5, 6, 7 or 8, you'll be level 5 or higher. That's the suggested progression. That's good guidance. They did something like this for Rise of Tiamat, and I think we're probably going to see more of it. Okay, chapter 2 is Troll Skull Alley. I think Troll Skull Alley is really you're gaining an old inn, and it's going to wind up hopefully being the base of operations for the characters. But it doesn't have to be that way. They could wind up doing something else, burn it to the ground, or just leave it. So yep, there's the manor. And we get another map of the general location, and it's all broken up. So a location you can explore, easy to follow. So what have we got here? The Bent Nail, Steam and Steel, Corellion's Crown, Tiger's Eye, Bookworm's Treasure, okay, sewer access. Alright, and so this will probably, I'm assuming that the sewer access then leads you on to somewhere else. And there's a bunch of potions here. So it looks like you can purchase potions. Not a lot, but from this location it looks like you can buy Potion of Animal Friendship, Climb, Greater Healing, and Water Breathing, all of which I imagine will be quite useful. And you can also buy a couple of different spells as well, and it's given the cost per spell. Comprehend languages, detect magic. Okay, that's all. I think that's actually quite cool. That's very, very nice. I know a lot of players will enjoy the fact that they can actually use their money on stuff. Potions and spells is one of them. Okay, joining factions. So we're talking about joining factions. Obviously, Bregan is one of the factions. Is this the Drow Gunslingers? Okay, alright. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not going to read all of that anyway. Jalaxel, Emerald Enclave, different missions that you can do for them. Okay, so this is, so you're not only going to gain, you're going to gain different missions based off whatever faction you join during your adventure. I think that's what's going on here. So you get your mission briefing based off your level, and you can just assign it when you need to, and then the requirements are listed in the next part. Oh, that's cool. I think that's a good idea. So that does that for all of them. Force Grey, Harper's, Lord's Alliance, Order of the Gauntlet, Zentarum. So in other words, I mean, you can essentially utilize this as a piecemeal. I mean, even you won't be able to use all of this information. I can't imagine that you'll be able to use all of this information and all of this content in the one adventure. Just, it's too many games. But it looks like it's a good idea. So it's reusable material. For those of you who want to run in a city for a little while, you will be able to. Opening for business, sample guild representatives. Okay, all right. And then Imka's plans, actions, events, actions. All right, I'm not too sure what that's all about. This is a rival of some kind, a business rival that you might have. And then level advancement, talked about again. Nice piece of artwork. Chapter 3, Fireball. What happens here? Zent's caught in the act. Alright, so the Zentarum, I'm not surprised that they're involved. Crime scene, so it looks like there's a couple of people that you can interview that are at the scene, and it's probably some sort of, I would say, investigation is going to be taking on an important aspect to this adventure. So my understanding is it's not the sort of adventure, if you're the person who likes to just run in and kill everything and take their treasure, I don't think it's going to work like that for this adventure. I think you're going to find it a little bit difficult to work it that way. Eyewitnesses, and there's a couple, so it gives you information on each one and a description that you can read out. Okay, that's cool. I think that's a good way of lining it up. So this is, I guess this is a little bit like a, I wonder if it's more like a murder mystery. It's I'm not, obviously I haven't read anything, so I don't know the gist of it. Speaking with the victims, all right. Finding Nim's creation. What's this? What Renner knows. Okay, so basically you're going to track down various people, follow leads, and do a bit of investigation. That's what this is all about. Here's another map. Yet again, it's not colour, but look, honestly, probably really, really easy to draw up from what you've been given. And a full page, which I think is a really good idea. Maps to that size should be that size. And it's all laid out for you, easy to follow. A nice piece of artwork, and an explanation of what happens at the aftermath of that. Okay, loose ends. Alright, so it even gives you a way of figuring out how to tie up loose ends that might have occurred. It looks like there's a couple of different options here, not just the one. At least 2 options or loose ends that you might need to tie up, and they're giving you some guidance around that. And level of advancement talked about again. Cool. Alright, chapter 4 is Dragon Season. Okay, I'm assuming that Dragon Season is where we start getting into the nuts and bolts of things. Finding the nimble right. Caught at last. Setting the stage. Okay, this is interesting. Here we've got another flowchart. So we've got encounters and encounter chains. And it looks to me like depending on the season that you decide to follow, what part of the season you're using. This is on page 59. If it's spring, then it gives you some guidance about which encounters you use and what order to run through. So depending on each one, it's going to give you an idea based off which encounter. Now, it looks to me like they reuse similar encounters. So when it says Encounter 2, Mistshore, Encounter 2, Mistshore doesn't show up for summer, but it does show up for autumn down here. So the order changes. This is really helpful. I think this is great. This really makes it much easier for a dungeon master, particularly even a new one, to figure out what's going on. I'm assuming the rest of it is all of the encounters listed. So it talks about summaries for the different seasons and the different encounter chains here. And then, of course, it looks like we're going to break it up into each encounter. So Encounter 1, the alley. What's that? That little chart there I just missed. Goods stored. Alright, so different things. You just roll on the chart to determine what is stored in that location. A map is provided. Talks about, there's the traps here. It looks like each location also has a section that discusses what season. So even if you are playing in the alley, dependent on which season you're using, it looks to me like it's going to play out slightly differently, because it has guidance for the alley for spring, summer, autumn, and I'm assuming also for winter as well. Yep, there it is, right there. And then Encounter 2, there's a nice little Mistshore. Nice map. There's not a lot of detail. It is pretty basic, but I guess that's deliberate. I'm assuming that you're only really going to need D1, D2, and D3 as locations for this part, but he's drawn out the rest of it should you want to have it accessible. Okay, so that's really simple. It looks like all those locations are spelled out in like half a page really, and then of course it does the same thing again with Mistshore. It goes over how to run for each season depending on which season of the you've selected, or that the players have selected to run their adventure through. Encounter 3, the street chase. Why not? Let's have a street chase. And there's no map for this, so I'm assuming that there's just mechanics for how to do that. It looks to me like there is just basic mechanics, and it looks also like the street chase is more... Potentially there can be a combat, but it looks to me like it's more a narrative string rather than something that you have mechanical numbers to roll or anything like that. What's Encounter 4 is the Mausoleum. So City of the Dead. So we're off to the City of the Dead now. And that's only made up of 2 different locations just here. Nice map. I think it's good. And it obviously covers the different seasons again. Look, I don't know if you can see this, but from this page here, look, the print's all good. But when I turn to page 70, this is what I'm a little bit concerned about. And that is that I don't know if you can make it out, but it's like the lettering is a little bit smudged, or like it's been printed twice. So it's not clean and crisp like it was on the previous page. This is relatively clean. This is not. I don't know if you'll be able to make it out on the camera itself, but that means that this first printing has already got some print issues, or at least in my one, I've heard that this is taking place. There are some print issues with the adventure. So obviously there are. So that's Mausoleum. Moving over. So we've got Encounter 5. This is the Rooftop Chase. The Rooftop Chase doesn't look like... looks like another narrative of some kind. A lot of chases in this place. Obviously you're chasing a lot of people around. So Rooftop Chase covers the different seasons, and it's very, very short, which means it doesn't matter who you are. It only covers summer, autumn, and winter, which I'm assuming that means that there's nothing for spring. So you don't use this encounter for spring. It's a cool piece of artwork there. And the Rooftop Chase complications. So there's a complications chart. Okay, cool. It's very short though, so it should be very simple for somebody to run. Encounter 6 is the theatre. Areas of the theatre, I can see 3 locations detailed. Very, very short. Doesn't cover, I mean, literally you could squeeze it onto half a page or a page, and it's just this location here. Still a cool map, by the way, and it covers how to run. Okay, so it talks about the theatre owner. That poor printing is showing up again on this page here. This is page 75 compared to, I mean, there's nothing wrong with 74. The print on here is good. It's just on the next page over, 75, it's a little bit wonky. And it's not even consistent right throughout the page. It's only in some locations. Really, they're going to have to do something about who they get to do their printing, because that's not good enough. Covers the different seasons again. And we get into Encounter 7, which is the Old Tower. Areas of the Old Tower are covered. There aren't too many locations. It looks like there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So easy enough to run through. And yet again, you could literally run this location. It's only like 1 page of information, even with the treasure table there. And then you go into the seasons again. It looks like it's a bit more fleshed out in terms of what's going to take place based on the seasons. What I do like is that it's broken up into enough pieces, apart from this section here that looks like quite complicated, that it wouldn't be too difficult to understand and to run. Winter's a bit complicated too. Okay. Encounter 8, Courthouse. So we've got a courthouse, a lot of different locations here. Obviously an opportunity to explore it. Oh, well, I certainly hope so. None of the sections are very long though, so it's not going to be very hard to navigate through. And a few guards. Obviously, probably a bad idea to engage in combat in the middle of court, or you might be going to jail. Different seasons are discussed again. Some walls of text starting over here. At least the print's improved. And then we get in Encounter 9. This is the Cellar Complex. And lots of different locations. What is it? Goes up to about, is that 11? 11A, 11B. Okay. Still, I would say, with all of the area descriptions, it's only covering at the most maybe a page or a page and a bit. That's it. And then you get a lot more detail around the different seasons and what's taking place in that location. That's really cool. I think it has a lot of replay value in terms of replaying it for somebody else. I feel like it's almost designed more for Dungeons & Dragons Adventurers League rather than just a home game. I feel like it's more tailored to that than to anything else. Okay, what do we got here? Encounter 10. The print has gone foggy again. It's really poor. I don't like this. This is annoying me a lot. The fact that I've bought a book, it's paid as much as I have, and the print has not come out. So just bear that in mind if you decide to pick it up. Different locations, yet another map. Big enough location that you shouldn't. It should at least give you one session to play through, and easy enough to understand. It's good. Look, I think so far from what I've seen that this is really well laid out, and for a new dungeon master, this is starting to look like one of the best adventures in terms of layout for a dungeon master that I've ever seen. Now, I haven't got all the way through the book, but you know how hard I am on Wizards of the Coast and their adventure books. And this is really looking impressive, just the way they've structured it. Usually there's not huge walls of text. There's been a couple though, but you've got headings. It breaks it all down. It looks like it'll be easy to find everything fairly quickly. The vault keys. So there's obviously a vault that you need to open up. The print has gone wacky again here on page 91. Ah, man, it's just frustrating that. Wow, get a load of that. A gold dragon guards a pile of golden dragons. Golden dragons are a form of coin. So if you're wondering what that was all about, that's what they're going on about. Dragons. It's not the animal dragon, although there's obviously one in there. This looks really cool. I like this. This is awesome. And I guess the question is, they're going to be, what, level 4 or 5, and they're facing a dragon. That seems quite rough. I'm not against it. personally, I think it's actually quite a cool idea. But you're facing a dragon, and you're not past level 5. Look, they did the same thing with the Lost Mine of Phandelver, and plenty of people got through it fine. A few people didn't, but you break a few eggs along the way. Vault of the Dragons. So this is breaking it all down. Another map. Doesn't look like it's a particularly complicated location, but it does leave a lot of room for maneuvering and maneuvering around things. So I can see that people could circle around a creature, or a creature could circle around the party. So it's going to be very hard, apart from this location here, where it's just, I'm pretty sure that is just, each square is 10 feet. So dragon's not really going to have a problem based on its size. I imagine it's not going to be an ancient dragon or an adult dragon. I could be wrong. We'll find out. There's a black pudding in here. Okay. Alright, so this section here, the Vault of the Dragons, looks much more complicated than the rest of the adventure so far in terms of its layout, and the locations are a bit more involved as far as I can tell. The adventure conclusion. So this is interesting. So as far as I can tell, it looks like the adventure concludes here at the vault, but we still have more material. So I feel like the rest of this is taking place after they've dealt with the dragon, and maybe the consequences of what happens with the treasure, provided they get access to it and don't wind up getting wiped out by a rather angry dragon who doesn't like having its lair disturbed. That's going to be my guess. Okay, so chapter 5, let's start working through that. Spring Madness. So this is facing Xanathar. So this is if your Xanathar is your villain, I guess. Following Xanathar's operations, the absolutely mad and out of insane Beholder would be a great villain. I feel like we've had so much talk about Xanathar that using Xanathar would, like, a no-brainer. I feel like facing a Beholder at that level, though, is probably going to result in a lot of very sad players or a lot of dead characters. So I don't think, I can see why they say don't necessarily think you can engage and fight the villains, because it's probably more about thwarting their plans and not necessarily engaging in them. Destroying the lair. Okay. Xanathar's lair. Getting to the lair, and here it is. Cool. Not a bad map. Suitable for any kind of Beholder, particularly one as important as Xanathar. All broken up really nicely as before. A lot of complexity. Once I turn that page, though, I can see there's a few riddles in there. Certainly looks like a riddle. And there's some prisoners to rescue, a workshop, some collections. Oh dear. Is that a maze? A stone maze. That sounds like a stuffed minotaur. Okay, you might be fighting one of those. And we're moving into apprentice wizards. Dwarves. Watch out for the dwarf wizards. Xanathar's Sanctum. Matt, we got another piece of really impressive artwork. Looks like they're backed up into a corner. I don't know who these are, whether they're supposed to be the player's characters or some of the NPCs, but we'll find out. There is, right here on page 110, there's more of that poor print taking place. We're starting to get into walls of text now, I feel. And not all the sections are really complicated and long, but obviously you're dealing with a villain, and so their lair is supposed to be a little bit more complicated, I guess. Special events that you can run, tournament structures, winning tournaments. I'm not too sure what all that's about. Oh, gladiatorial tournaments. So you can get involved in a gladiatorial tournament if you want to. And then the Troll Tide Slaughter. Sounds awfully gruesome. I'm not sure what that's all about, but there's definitely a troll involved. Okay, chapter 6 is Hell of a Summer. Cult of Asmodeus. Okay. This is the family that have got themselves caught up with, I believe it is devils. They've sold the souls of their children or something like that. I remember hearing a little bit about that. So the different characters involved are covered briefly in their locations, how to approach them, facing them. Okay, and there's their home if you feel inclined to actually approach. The paw prints popped up again, unfortunately. The map's fine though. And a few walls of text. At least it's broken up, so it shouldn't be too hard to navigate. The bullet points make a big difference, I feel. You know, bullet pointing through a large section of paragraphing, really helpful for anybody who's trying to read it. It's quite a large location, just like Xanathar's. And then Temple of Asmodeus. So you're going to actually go to, what is that? It's a chain devil, isn't it? It is. Looks like you're going to be dealing with devils as well. And some imps. Okay, that'll be fun. And another really impressive piece of artwork. That's really beautiful. I love that. That's cool. So what's happened here? Are we still with... Is this moved into something else? I don't understand. Temple of Asmodeus. No, we seem to still be with the same chapter. It's got two locations. I feel like that definitely means there's two locations to that chapter. There is. Okay, that explains it. I was a bit confused. I thought I'd skip past chapter 7 or something. Getting the gold and Day of the Damned. Alright, so some barbed devils are definitely involved. And some lemurs. Yeah, I don't think you need to worry about them though. Chapter 7. Mysterio's Fall. Okay, so I'm assuming this is this winter? Maybe not. Bit hard to tell. Facing Jalaxel. I'm guessing that Jalaxel is on a ship. The Sea Maiden's Fear. Yep, you're going to be trying to get on board somebody else's ship and get up to mischief. Drow involved. And there we go, there's the map for the ship. Laid out pretty well. The print, I can read it because it's not all funny. And yep, it's broken up nicely. A nice piece of artwork, which is quite cool. And what's this? Nate, Jenkins, and Squidley enjoy a windy autumn day. Okay, so it's autumn on the docks. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. And then we continue with the location details. Nimble Right. Swashbucklers. So this is sort of more in the vein of gunslingers and pirates by the looks of it. And then there's Scarlet Marpenoth. Alright. Is this a flying ship? No, it's a submarine. You're going to get to explore a submarine. Not just a ship that sails on the water, but one that goes underneath. I think that's awesome. That's really, really cool. And special events are covered. The Friendly Dragon. So you're going to get to a young bronze dragon called Zilfan, the young bronze dragon. Okay, and Drow gunslingers, a night to remember. Okay, so it seems like Laurel Silverhand. Isn't she quite a famous character in Waterdeep? I believe she is. I feel like that I recognise the name. I'm sure it is. Okay, and then just a wrap up in terms of special events. Escaping Bear. There's a polar bear involved. Really? And Day of Wonders Parade. A parade. Alright. So, look, you could pluck this stuff and plop it into your own campaign really easily. I feel like you could break it apart quite nicely. Chapter 8. Winter Wizardry. Facing Monsoon. This is the clone wizard, right? Disrupting Monsoon's operations. Colot Tower. I feel like you're going to be breaking into a wizard tower. What's the maximum for breaking into a wizard tower? Don't do it. Not a good idea. Usually that's the case anyway. And there's your map. Different locations are spelled out. Gargoyles involved. Mimics. Hoo-hoo! And a few thugs. Alright, gargoyles and mimics. That's all good for me. I love that. Sounds good. And it looks like there's a demon. Blagrua. Yep, I'm pretty sure there's a demon involved in here. Lady Godfrey. Godfrey it is, Godfrey. Is that a flying carpet or a flying door? I feel like it's a flying door. Trapdoors, flesh golems, oh dear, that's bad news. Animated armor. Flesh golem is something that a level 5 character is really going to struggle with. Most characters will. Flesh golems are bad news. Really good piece of artwork. I'll just try to see if I can flatten it out a little bit more for you. There you go. Get into winter. Different locations. The extra dimensional sanctum. Oh, so we've got another location. So there's not just 2 locations. So you got the wizard tower, Mansoon's wizard tower, I'm assuming. And then you go into the sanctum. There's a map, which is quite involved. Plenty of locations. Pretty easy to follow as far as I can tell. Oh, did I just whip past a... No. For a second there I thought No, there it is. It is. We've got an earth elemental. There's some heavy hitters in this particular section. Mansoon's no easy pushover by the looks. Helmed horrors are always bad news too. And then Mansoon, if you decide you want to try and face him, doesn't really strike me as a particularly clever idea. Special events, blackmail the lords. Why not? Doesn't everybody try to blackmail the lords? And then we've got Dead Winter Day Feast and the Secret Sanctum. Similarium. Okay. And then Volo's Waterdeep Icarondon. I'm assuming these are the laws of the city. Or just how the city works. Okay, so this part is not so much the adventure, but this is what I was looking for. This is a breakdown more of Waterdeep and how its history, how it works, what it would be like to arrive here, the legal codes, armor, arms, combat, how that all works if you're exploring this location, the City Watch, how they operate, how they talk, there's even a section on that, the watchful order of magists and protectors, coinage, what sort of coins they use, even get pictures providing you, and a breakdown of how they work, taxes and fees. Oh my gosh, this is the sort of thing you, of course, if you want that kind of level of detail, it's going to be really helpful if you want to run your campaign in a city or like Waterdeep. Getting about traffic, travel, street signs, landmarks. Okay, it covers a lot of different things. It looks like it covers nobility is covered, guilds, guild law, wizards of Waterdeep. Yep, wards of Waterdeep, sorry. Wards of Waterdeep. The Sea Ward, North Ward, Castle Ward, Trade Wards, major temples are listed on the chart there. The Southern Ward, Dock Ward, City of the Dead. Oh, I've got a nice little picture there. City of the Dead, outside the city proper. So Field Ward, Undercliff, Undermountain. So there's a little bit of information on Undermountain. And I know a lot of people will want to travel from this adventure to the next adventure that's coming, which is it Dungeon of the Mad Mage? City Splendor, amenities, the Griffin Cavalry. Oh my gosh, flying birds. That'll be fun. The walking statues. In other words, they're definitely, you can have them walk around if you want to. I suspect they can and will. And there's a couple of them outlined here. Okay. City celebration, so it actually gives you at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different celebrations that take place in the city. Infamous alleys, locations that stand out. And actually it looks like there's a lot more. There's a huge, it's like 2.5 pages of celebrations that take place in the city and details on them. Possibly, maybe even more than that. Geez, I think that's more like 4 pages. Parting words. Okay. Alright, so that's that. And then we get into Appendix A, which is the magic items. So we've got Badge of the Watch, Azurage, I'm not sure what that's all about. Oh, it's a weapon, a battle axe, legendary. Oh my gosh, a legendary weapon at between level 1 and 5. Blimey. Somebody's being generous. black staff. So you can, so the black staff that, I don't know if anybody knows about the black staff, but the black staff is usually held by Halaster. So that's currently held by somebody else. So you could potentially get hold of the black staff if you wanted to. Bracer of Flying Daggers. What's that? Dragon Staff of Ahageraron, whatever. Feather of something. Feather of the Trummy Summoning. Right, so there's quite a few magic items here. A paper bird. I like the idea of the paper bird. There are quite a few. Smoke powder. Okay. Is that a stone with eyes? It looks like it is. Alright, and then we get into Appendix B, which is monsters and NPCs. Various characters. It looks like obviously the main villains are covered. Apprentice Wizard. And it's only a quarter challenge. So 1 quarter. I'm not sure that we really needed that, but I guess we don't have one, so now we do. Bard. Venomous Blastwind. Black Vipers. So this is a burglar or a pickpocket or mugger assassin that you can use. The City Guard are covered. It looks to me like the City Guard are challenge rating 2, and it breaks it down into the different ranks and how they work as well. So it gives you a bit of information, not just the stat block. City Watch. That's all broken up into the different ranks as well. Doom Raiders. Members of the City Watch. Drow Gunslinger. I think there's a few people who might have an issue with firearms in their game, but you know, a Drow Gunslinger doesn't necessarily need to be carrying a gun. I suppose you could go with a Wand Slinger, just change it to a Wand Slinger if you preferred, and you didn't want them firing firearms, or even to something like a crossbow or a short bow, maybe a long bow. Gazer, so we've got a stat block for a Gazer, another Beholder. This is only a half challenge rating. A couple of different NPCs. Helm, Jalaxel is covered. Is it Laurel, Silverhand? I'm sure I recognise her. She's been around for ages. Ah, the 5th of 7 daughters of the goddess of Mystra. Okay. That makes a lot more sense, yes. And it includes a picture of her as well, and quite a lot of information. Mansoon is covered. Martial Arts Adept. Mert. Now, I've heard a little bit of information about Mert. Mert the Merciless. The Old Wolf. He's a money lender, isn't he? Oh, I thought he was. Nimble Right. And some stats on that. It's some sort of construct. Oh, this is the nimble right here. Okay. Is that Mind Flayer looking after pet intellect devourers? Yes, it is. Oh my gosh. There's a Mind Flayer in this adventure. There's a Mind Flayer. For level 1 to 5, they're really pulling out the big guns. Chain Devil. What the heck is going on with him? Ott Steel Toes. Ott Steel Toes. Sorry, not Stows. Swashbuckler. Looks like an NPC. Fajar. So a capable wizard in her mid-30s. Alright. And then, oh, the walking statue of Waterdeep. So they have included the stat block for the walking statue. If you wanted to use it, Volo's stat block's in here as well. Okay, so Xanathar's talked about a little bit. Xanathar apparently is just a normal beholder, doesn't get his own stat block, which I feel is a little bit disappointing. And then the handouts are covered. I like the fact they have included a little bit of information on these NPCs here, and I'm assuming that you can photocopy this and just hand it to the players, or it's sort of going to be a reminder to them. You know, I would use it as a reminder. So as you introduce these friendly faces, we talked about them, I showed them to you at the very beginning, you could then hand a photocopy of this to remind them of the different NPCs. So that's why I think it's supposed to be a handout that you give the players. And then the legal code, you can give them a legal code document as well. And it looks to me like they have also included maps that probably have all of the important things you didn't want players to see on. So you don't necessarily have to draw them all out yourself if it's not necessary to do so. I think that's a really good idea. You could even photocopy this and cut out the appropriate section and give it to them rather than draw them out. And be a real cheat. Why not? Why not? Don't give me a hard time about it. I think it's a good idea. Key to the Yawning Portal. So there's the key. I'm going to have a look at this later on and work my way through it. I can see right now that Matthew Mercer is definitely here. Xanath is here. And I feel like Minx and Boo will be here somewhere, but I'm not going to try and figure that out right now. And there's a map, a pull-out map, which I believe is for the Dungeon Master and the players. One side for the Dungeon Master and one side for the players. Although I feel like it probably is exactly the same on both sides from what I've seen. But I haven't opened it up and had my own look myself. So that's pretty cool. Look, what do I think? After seeing this book, I honestly think that this... Sorry, I'm just going to move this around. I honestly think this is probably one of the best adventures they have constructed in terms of layout so that a Dungeon Master can maneuver their way through it. Storm King's Thunder was promising with the charts, flow charts, and how they structured it. But there were huge sections of walls of text to fight your way through to find information. I found that myself, and I know one of the Dungeon Master who ran Storm King's Thunder found the same thing. Now that takes place a little bit in this book, but I feel like it's certainly an improvement. The fact that it's only from levels 1 to 5 is probably because it's also a book that gives you campaign setting location information for Waterdeep. It's not just an adventure. It also gives you a whole lot of stuff you can reuse. You don't have to use it for this adventure. The turn-off for me is not so much the black and white maps, but definitely the misprints and the fudged printing that takes place throughout the book in different locations. Those are the things that really upset me the most, I think. It's definitely the fudge sections. That's really annoying. I'm sure once it gets reprinted again, that problem will be eliminated, but the fact that it's happened in a first printing, so be wary of that might take place. Okay? Alright, so hopefully you found this informative and useful in some way, and if you did, please share and like the video. Look, if you want to subscribe to my channel because you like this sort of content, I do this sort of thing quite often. I often go live and I will often do reviews, and I often talk about all sorts of things. I'm pretty broad in terms of what I do on my channel, so please consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. Sometimes I'll do a rough cut and sometimes I'll do a pre-recorded video and release them. I often do a lot of live streams though. If you want to support my channel, you supported my channel by watching this video, and thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And if you want to continue to support me, I have 600 plus videos that you can go and check out. Some of them you might not like, some of them you'll probably find not useful to you, but then there's bound to be something you'll find useful to you if you have a good hunt through the other playlists. So check them out if you want to. Otherwise, I don't do Patreon, but down in the description you'll find affiliate links to the book depository and Amazon where you can buy stuff online, such as Waterdeep Dragon Heist. You'll find a link for that down below as an Amazon affiliate. I get a small commission, you pay exactly the same price, and you don't even have to go through buy the thing that I've linked to. If you want to buy something else, just go through that link and then just navigate around and search for the thing you want to, and then buy that. And that should work perfectly fine. Look, if you have questions and feedback, I'm going to get to that right now in the live chat for those of you who have been commenting. So please consider commenting right now before I disappear. I can see there's a lot for me to catch up on, so that's fine. If you weren't part of the live stream though, I would consider just leaving a comment down below. If you've bought the book, and tell me what your concerns, if you found anything you didn't like. if there's anything you want to ask about the book, I'll try to answer some of the questions, but I think what I will do is I will follow up with a full-fledged review at some point, and I'll do one for the Dungeon Master, and I'll do one for the players. And I'll do them as probably a pre-recorded video rather than a live stream. I think that's probably the best way to tackle that. I still haven't decided, but I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to work. And that's it. So if you make your comments, otherwise, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Grab that dice, roll those dice, get that 20.